Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Today I want to talk about a term that one of our viewers coined, Civolution, and Guerrilla days. Before I get to that, thanks for everybody who has come aboard. It's great to have all the new people here and all the new people over on Patreon. Over on Patreon, for those of you who are interested, I've just put up one about pocket carry. It's probably going to just make some of the tactical guys go berserk. That's okay. There's a difference. What happens on the range, what works on the range, what's tactical, isn't always what works in real life and on the street. And I address some of that over there for anybody who's interested. Anyway, welcome to all the new people here. I do ask that you subscribe and hit the subscribe and the bell and share it with your friends and everything like that, because we have some things ahead of us that I think are going to be very interesting to deal with and to talk about. I went up as kind of leading into this. Or maybe I'll back up just a minute and say I had a comment from one of our Patreon subscribers. I believe it was Sylvan Man. After my last video on Civil War or Revolution, which are we headed towards, and he said he thought it was going to be a Civolution, and I like that. I like that term. And asked him if I could steal it from him. He said, be my guest, so I have. Thanks, Sylvan Man. But I'm going to talk about exactly what that is, and that kind of folds in with the other part of this, Guerilla days. I went up today, had a little problem with the post office box. And it turned out that, well, it doesn't matter what it was, but anyway, I got it straightened out yesterday. And I picked up some mail that had been holding for me there, and first thing, I had some book orders in there, and so if your checks haven't gone through and you haven't received any books, well, I've got your orders now. I run out of a couple of them, so I've got a new order in. So as soon as I get those in, your orders will be coming out to you with autographed books. It was great to hear from you. Thank you for that. And for anybody wanting autographed copies of my books, they're right back there. The Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, Appeal to Heaven. They're $15 a piece. I always put that. Do I put it down here? I forget. It's over in the About section here. Anyway, if you would like autographed copies of those, the address to send your check to is in the About section of this. $15 a piece. Just tell me who to autograph it to and what would you like me to write in it. As I always say, as long as you don't ask me to lie or say bad words, I'll be happy to write anything that you'd like in it. Well, anyway, in that group of mail, that bunch of mail that was waiting for me, were a couple of very nice things that people have sent me. First off, there was a nice patch from Bill, an Appeal to Heaven patch. Bill, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. It was very nice. I'm gonna put that someplace good. And then a book from a subscriber and a reader of my books, I think, in Ireland. And the book is Guerilla Days in Ireland. It's by Tom Berry. It's an autobiography from Tom Berry. Most of you probably have never heard of Tom Berry. He was an IRA man, IRA commander, a legendary IRA commander, way back in the day. And this book, I haven't read it. And the one who sent this to me, you know who you are. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for this. And yes, your books will be on the way to you as soon as I get that order in. I'm not sure how much to get into this, but it's a situation that I know about, And it's a situation that holds a lot of lessons. Those of you who are on Patreon have seen my videos over there about the Irish situation, the lessons that we can learn from Ireland and their struggles, the troubles. A lot of people don't go back and they don't know a lot about the war for Irish independence and then the Civil War that followed that. But that really comes into to what I think could happen in our country now. So both these things happened. That kind of brought this together, which is why I decided to talk about this today. So this is going to be a book. I already flipped through it a little bit just to see whether I really enjoy the style of writing. And usually when, a lot of times when a book is an autobiography, it's written by the person who, was really there. The writing can be a little bit jerky and stodgy and stuff, but this is not. This is just wonderful, and I can't wait to get to it. Thank you again for you who sent it to me. Now, Sylvan Mann's mention of Civolution and my receipt of that book, which made me think back again to the War of Irish Independence and their succeeding Civil War, brings out some excellent points. For those who may not, and I won't take a long time on this, but the War of Irish Independence was a war to separate. You can compare it to our revolution. Okay, it was a war to separate themselves from Great Britain. Once something, and it didn't turn out to be an entire independence for the entire island of Ireland. But then after a bit had been concluded, then there were problems between different sides on the Irish Republican side as to how it should proceed, whether it had proceeded far enough, whether it should go farther, the extent to which it should go farther. And if any of you have watched any, there was a movie, Michael Collins, I think there was. Well, yes, there was. And it talks about the differences between him and Eamon de Valera. I know I'm getting into the weeds now for those of you who aren't familiar with this, so I'll come back out of the weeds. Won't get into that. But anyway, that after their initial war for independence had been semi-successful, then there was a battling between different factions on the Republican side, meaning the side that wants Ireland as a republic and as a unified republic, as to whether enough had been done, what to do next, how they should go about it. I see this happening in our country. I just put a video up over on American Reversion talking about the days ahead being days of opportunity. If you're interested in that at all, just go to American Reversion. I talk about how the recent things that have happened over the last few months in our country, while devastating immediately, can prove to be opportunities for us to do good things in the future. So I think that what we can see coming ahead as the policies of the new regime start to unfold. We've seen a shutting down of the pipeline. We've seen a standing down of the military to be, so they can be a little more, not a total standing down, but so that everybody has to go to sensitivity training. We will see a devolution, I believe, of the military because good people will be leaving, which is going to lower the standards that they will need to refill those positions. The border is opening back up. There's mayhem down there. It's not being reported by the mainstream media, obviously, and naturally. We can't expect it to be. We have to accept the real realities that we deal with and deal with them. All over. And then our cities, the trial for the situation with George Floyd up in Minnesota is going to be coming up fairly soon. We can expect to see more problems as a result of that. The latest situation with the election, which we're all aware of, all of these things have the possibility to bring things to a flashpoint in the near future. Now, what near is, I don't know. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Whatever. I don't know. How things can work out well politically, I talk about over American reversion, but here I talk about how things can happen if it's not ideal. And what that could be is a pushback, a flash, finally, of those who disagree with the policies of the current regime. How shall we say? I want to be very careful, or you all understand why I'm being careful with this. And a response, an energetic response to these things. That could very possibly happen. And that could throw us a whole new bunch of situations. I won't call them problems. Many times I'll call them opportunities. That will cause us a whole lot of new situations to deal with, to use, whatever. And then, however, as this push comes, the extent to which it may go, we don't know. But then not everyone who is dissatisfied with how things are going will agree on the way to change them, right? I know most of you are following me here, okay? So what's going to happen? What is a civolution? Now, I like that word. If I were going to turn it around to, because in Ireland, there was essentially a revolution and then a civil war. Well, we saw the same thing here, right? First a revolution and then a civil war. And the first is throwing off an oppressive government, a government that has become oppressive or been oppressive forever or whatever. And then a problem coming up between those who, though most of them, agreed, not all of them, agreed on the throwing off of the oppressive government. Now, there are differences between the different sides there that always grow and always come up. So what are we going to be dealing with, and how are we going to be dealing with it? Our first priority, of course, is to do what we can to watch, to be aware, to be ready for opportunities as they present themselves, to push back to the extent that we can individually, and then be ready. Be ready if these things flash, and they sure could. Be ready for that. Now that gets real. Okay, we can get into a lot of detail on that. Maybe I'll do that on a subsequent. But being ready means essentially basic preparedness. Okay, beyond that we get into politics. But being prepared is going to enable you to deal with changing situations in the future, whatever those may be. And then after, if this flashes, and if this pushback that I think could happen is energetic enough, then we are going to realize that everyone pushing back is not going to agree on the extent to which we should push back, how we should push back, or when it's time to settle down. Okay, these are things that I think too many people don't think about. It's easy to think about the immediate problem. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to think about the immediate problem, but you have to think about subsequent situations that the solutions to a problem will then bring, to present themselves to you to deal with them. So anyway, I think that what could happen a civolution. If the word would, if it could sound good, turn it around into a revocivil, I think that's the order would happen. But that's not a word, right? That's not a word that rolls off the tongue. So civolution is, thank you, Sylvan Man, for that. And I think that's exactly what we could be seeing coming our way in the future. So think about that. Think about what your positions are. Talk to your friends about it. Solidify. Really no different than we always should in basic preparedness. Get your group strong. Prepare yourself for everything you can possibly think of. And then be ready and realize that this is a very possible turn that our country could be making in the very near future. So anyway, again, thank you for those of you who have written. I got some very nice notes as well. Thank you for those who have ordered the books. They'll be out as soon as I get the new shipment in. Again, buddy, thank you so much for this book. I can't thank you enough. I'm going to enjoy reading this so much. And I tell you what, anybody out there that wants to really study for what could be happening in our country, study the Irish situation. And I'll leave it at there, reminding you that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. So let's prepare well today and let's live well tomorrow. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.